We're back here with the Jimmy 2. Quick update on my progress since the last video. Last video, I had the boat flipped over and no fiberglass on the bottom. Now I do have the fiberglass on. I know it looks not great right now, but it looks really good to me. I've spent hours sanding this thing. There was the initial coat of epoxy to get the fiberglass get the fiberglass wet out, and then the second coat was the filling of the weave, and then I sanded that, and then there were a bunch of spots that needed to be leveled, so I put a third coat of epoxy on, and I just finished sanding that. And what you see here are some spots that just needed a little bit more, but most of it looks like that. So that is ready for sanding in an easier session of sanding. It's all leveled. That is sanded using a sanding block. I started with 80 grit. I just made this sanding block here. So it's just pine underneath. The block itself is pine. Usually I usually use these like I've shown in one of my first videos, but being that they're rubber and a little flexible, they're a little more forgiving when it comes to trying to get it totally level. So I decided to make one out of solid wood and just go to town with that. So it was a lot of work. Couple spots I sanded right to the fiberglass. Those are the ones that I'm recovering here with epoxy. And then after this, I should be able to I'll do one more flattening, probably with, I have one sanding block with the 80 grit, one with 120. So I'll use this to do what you see here that's wet right now, tomorrow or the next day, whenever I can get to it. And then after that, I will go over it with my orbital sander, which I have here with a 220 disc on it. And that'll be ready for the varnish that I'm using, which came yesterday. I decided to go with the Epiphanes. It seemed to me, it's hard to tell. I was looking at Total Boat and Epiphanes. Those were the two in contention, I would say. I'm not great at finishing or figuring out urethanes, polyurethanes, varnishes, the real true difference between all those. But from what I could tell, it seemed as though Total Boat, even though they say it's a varnish, is really technically more of a polyurethane. And it seemed like polyurethanes, once they fail, they're harder to fix. So it seemed like varnishing would be easier to fix if I had some water penetration or something that actually got through. So I don't mind the longer drying times and waiting in between coats. I know Total Boat, you can recoat very quickly, which would be nice, but at the end of the day, I'm kind of a purist, and I know a lot of the purists like the Epiphanes or Epiphanes, however they want to say it. So that's what I decided to go with. Anyway, I haven't cracked the can open yet. I'm looking forward to doing my tiller here, or my rudder. There's all that dust. Rudder, and then the hatch cover. That's ready for varnish as well. Let's see what else. Yes, I cut out the centerboard slot tonight. Just got that done. I put a little clear epoxy to seal the cut. I don't know if you remember, but I had drilled through from the bench side before I put the bench on top. I drilled through the bottom. That way I wouldn't have to measure in from the side and try and hope that I land a drill bit in the trunk. So I just drilled up through on each side, leading edge and the trailing edge there, and or the forward and aft, and just that was my marker, and it worked perfectly. So there it is. Now I'll do the same thing through the bench, and that'll be my marker to open up the top once I get this thing flipped over. So I think I am very close here to being varnish ready. I think I told you guys I'm doing a D-ring on the front, so I just fiberglass over that, and I'll cut that piece out when I'm sure I'm done with all the resin. So this is actually sanded to 220. I wanted to see what it would look like. I had one little imperfection right there, and then where the fiberglass came onto the transom, it didn't go quite as well on that side. It was really good, but I figured I had the epoxy out. I might as well put another little coat on top of that. So that's where I stand. I think that's all for now. So we'll see you next time.